back and better than ever. This is the best damn recap show for the United Football League. United Football Media's Tell Me About It. We are back and better than ever. Me and Tay, our guy True, is on assignment covering the NBA playoffs over there on our homepage. Me, True, Tay, all the guys. DAR Sports Media. We'll have a huge NBA hoops pod tomorrow night. But we're here talking football. And since this is Tell Me About It United Football Media, not just United Football League, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my European Football League, European League of Football team. They just started up their new program. The Nordic Storm, based out of Scandinavia, got their first win, 55-14 over the Helvetic Mercenaries this morning. Big shout out to them. Way to start off your franchise with a bang. That expansion team up there in Scandinavia. That's what I'm talking about. I've been told that if the UFL would play against the ELF, their ratings would quadruple. Some people say that. I've seen it around on the internet. What a damn weekend of UFL action. Every single game came down to less than 5 points, except one. And even that game, the one team was driving to try and close the score to a very narrow gap and got pick six to close the game off. But that was a close game all the way through as well. Houston and Detroit. We are going to start off with, though, one of the best games of the season so far. Arlington and DC, insane game, back and forth, seesaw matchup, body blows and headshots coming everywhere. DC ends up with a 33-30 win in the most spectacularly insane closing to a game. As Arlington is driving, they're supposed to spike and kick the field goal in order to take it to overtime. Luis Perez decides on his own that he is going to fake the spike and throw an out route to try and, I don't know what he thought he was trying, I guess get a few more yards. I mean, it's easy to say this when you already know the result, but obviously the risks inherent to that are much greater than the possible rewards. Because what were you going to do? Get 3 more yards, 4 more yards? You could run out of time. The receiver could not get out of bounds, or you could throw an interception to DeAndre Baker to seal the game. And that's what did it. What an insane way to end the game. Arlington, DC, we talked about it, me and Tay, on DC Defender Show this last week. It's crazy how the defenders have switched from a ball control, blue collar, run the ball, play good defense team to like this offensive machine, and the defense can't stop nothing. And that's exactly what today's game was. It was a quarterback shootout, and thankfully for DC Defender fans, they got the prospective MVP on their side of the ball. Tiamu was in total control today. Great game. 15-26, 240 yards, a touchdown, added a receiving touchdown on a highlight play. Remember we said, hey, Perkins has the lead for the MVP because he has the highlights. Well, Jordan Tiamu got himself a highlight today because he hurdles the defender on the way into the end zone for a touchdown off a reverse fast from Chris Rowland. Amazing stuff. What a damn game. Luis Perez with a phenomenal game himself until that final insane moment of insanity. 32 for 46, 70% completion, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Vaughns, oh my God. This guy, TV, the wide receiver for Renegades, he may be taking over top receiver spot from Adams down in Memphis because he had not one, but 2 just insane highlight catches. The second one was a one-hander that he went up and grabbed and was great. But to me, the first one was better because he back-shouldered it, but he had a defender draped all over him. He made the space enough to back-shoulder and grab the ball. Incredible catch. Tyler Vaughns. We'll see you in the NFL this summer. I'm quite convinced. Hey, tell me about it, man. This game was wild.
Yeah, the game was wild, and defenders go 2-0 in the Renegades. In another close game. Defenders did just enough to win the game, and I mean, to explain like the last play about the Renegades, their season was on the line in a way. I mean, I guess they were trying to just do something different, catch the defense off guard. Because
it wasn't they. It came out after the game that Perez decided to do that on his own.
Well, maybe he
Yeah.
wanted to just catch everyone off guard, but it wasn't there.
He did.
That's still this. Oh yeah, he did. It was not in a positive way, but that's still the season for them. They completely blew their season. Like they think they started off.
Here we are again. Here we are again.
I don't know. They're the same team as last year, man.
The Renegades in close games, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is with them, but for whatever reason, they just can't win the close games. And if you can't win close games, you're probably not going to be a good team. They had multiple chances. They could have managed that fourth quarter a lot better too. They should have kicked the field goal, just stuff like that. And their run game wasn't there. Defenders finally stopped the run after a couple weeks.
It's true.
So that helped. Deion Jackson exploded for the defenders. He had a big game for them, which is very crucial for the defenders. But yeah, defenders, the playoff spot, just looking to capitalize on the last 2 weeks of the season.
It's all they'll be doing is trying to capitalize. I guess we can talk about it now. Another piece of news that came out, and we're going to have a longer spiel on this at some point. But we got a lot of great effort and great games to talk about. Recap here, and then move on to the next week's preview. So we're not going to dwell too much on this. But it came out just before we started recording this that they will be host cities, which the press release from the UFL called them neutral sites, but they're the home stadium of two teams that are locked into the playoffs. So how is it a neutral site game? Birmingham and St. Louis. Well, now what would be funny is if that would have been the solution. I just thought of this. They should have just switched them. Panthers and Styles go to St. Louis, and St. Louis and DC go to Birmingham. That would have been neutral site, but that's not the way they did it or doing it. Somehow, some way, there was a scheduling conflict with Audi Field that the UFL insanely admitted that they knew about before the season. So they knew this was a possible scenario that happened. DC's not going to be able to host a playoff game. So in order to make it fair, which I don't really understand how it's fair because you're given the 2 seeds home games, whatever, they decided to do a neutral site game on the USFL side as well. But as I said, all Birmingham and Panthers are locked in on the USFL side. St. Louis and DC are locked in on the XFL side. The games are in St. Louis and Birmingham. So how the hell is that neutral? Those are 2 teams that are going to play in the game. Are they gonna be in the St. Louis Dome and decorate it with DC branding? Is that what they're gonna do? What are we doing? So. What are we talking about here? Neutral site.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Between that and the Bryce Perkins, literally as the game is kicking off, is when the UFL decides to communicate that Bryce Perkins is out with an ankle injury. Amateur hour weekend for these guys, managing things in this league. I don't know what the hell. You could have, and we were talking about this before the thing kicked off the show. You could have just picked 2 places with stadiums that had good airports and had the games there. They don't even got to be UFL cities. You could have had the games in New Orleans and Tampa or something. You could have done anything other than give the 2 teams that are in the 2 seed slots the home game and then call it a neutral site. What are you talking about? What did Michigan deserve to do to deserve this happening to them? What the hell is this? Golly. Well, speaking of Michigan, they, like we said, locked up their spot in the playoffs, finishing off Houston late in the game with an interception. Etling got to play because finally, not because he's getting shoved in there ahead of Bryce Perkins, prospective MVP. He got to play because Bryce Perkins had a last-second was reported last second ankle injury. So Denny Etling gets in, has a decent game, 167 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Did not look bad. The Roughnecks, once again, close, but no Seagar. Jalen McClendon had his best game yet, 30 completions, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. The receiver that they traded for, Jones, had a real good game. Or Hall, excuse me, Jaron Hall, 11 catches, 88 yards, a touch. But the Roughnecks just could not quite pull it off. Panthers win 30-18. They lock in their trip to the playoffs, where they will be the number 1 seed, but somehow be traveling to Birmingham. I guess that's not a huge deal, since there will be like 8,000 people there. But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
My goodness. Tell me about it, man. Michigan and Houston. Well, do you got thoughts on this situation?
About the playoffs.
Yeah.
League just has to do better. I mean, it's early, it's the second year of the league, and I'll give them a break, but we shouldn't see this going forward, because I'm fine with neutral sites for playoffs, to keep everything even, but then it's like, how do you reward the number 1 team in the conference?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. If they were going to do neutral sites, it should have been a neutral site and not home games to the 2 seeds. Doesn't really make sense, but it's still early. It's a newer league. It's early, so I mean,
I'm just going to say, they already tried to change the playoff formatting. An observer might look at this and say, they are doing everything in their power to try and get a damn playoff game at St. Louis, to the point where they're just going to say, screw it, St. Louis, you just have the game no matter what. That's basically what happened, because they tried to change the playoff seeding rules mid-season in a move that people thought maybe was aimed at getting St. Louis a home game for the playoffs. And now, when you're supposedly supposed to be doing a neutral site, you're like, screw it, St.Louis, just have a playoff game, home playoff game.
Yeah.
Insane.
But
anywho, Houston and Michigan, man.
I'll say this. Houston, they got some potential for next year. If they can keep some guys on their roster, they got some potential, but kind of had a feeling they're just not enough to beat the Panthers. And even with their backup quarterback, they obviously they like Etling too, because he's played in about 4 or 5 games this year. So Panthers just took care of business. They continue to win each and every week. They're number 1 seed in their conference right now, going into the playoffs. I'm sure they're not trying to lose, later on in the year. So who knows? Panthers been playing great football all year. Took care of business. They beat the Roughnecks. They didn't take them, like as a slouch or anything. They got the job done with the backup quarterback. I don't know when they knew Bryce Perkins wasn't playing, but hey, they figured it out. They got it done. They look just fine to me. So Panthers just continue to impress.
Yeah, I ranked them number 1 in my power rankings when we got it out. I think that's a team that should be. I feel that they're a more complete team right now than DC is. So we will see how that all plays out. Entertainingly, the Cheek Bowl lived up to its name in that it was crazy, and there was 5 or 6 turnovers in the game. Both teams just refused. How is it? You come into a game, you're like, no, somebody has to win, no matter how bad these teams are. And the teams say, au contraire, my friend, we will do everything we can so that neither of us wins. But someone did eventually have to win. The Showboats win 24-22. It was entertaining. It was crazy. It was insane. The winning team's quarterback completed 5 passes. Troy Williams taking it back to the 1940s, them old Norm Brocklin days. It was a wild one on Friday night. Memphis wins. Put another one on the board for them. Very nice. What do you think there, Tay? What is there to say, really?
Well, it's a bad look for the Brahmas. Completely. A lot of people had them, going to the playoffs because they did last year. They overachieved last year, I feel like, and then now they're the worst team. And I don't know. It's sad to see just a complete drop off. They couldn't even get this done. I mean, they were close. In the fourth quarter, they came back. They made it interesting. They put the game into overtime. Like the Showboats there, they were trying to blow the game too, but I mean, they got it in overtime. So, it's pretty crazy to win with 5 completions. I don't know if I've seen it. I don't. You don't normally see that like past high school football. So that's impressive. Right there. The run game was good for them. So I mean that's really what it was. Both teams were running the ball a ton. And Showboats just came out on top. It was just one of those games. It wasn't entertaining though.
Gonna mess up their draft position. How crazy is it? Speaking of draft positions, because I'm just thinking of if you had the first overall pick in this last offseason, how wild is it the way this whole Kellen Mond thing has gone for San Antonio? That really went up in smoke, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it sure did. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I was.
We told you in the preseason. We told you in the preseason. Nothing is for sure. We've seen it before, and now we have once again seen it again. Where a guy who was a top 100 pick in the NFL comes here, and not only are they not dominant, they get fraud checked. They're out of the league. They're out of everything. Once again, it has happened. I don't think it's actually played out the other way ever. We haven't had a highly touted guy come down to the UFL and be good. The closest one has been Matt Corral, and even that has been not particularly impressive for most of it. He's been decent. He's been solid, but nobody's come down. You would expect somebody who was taken in the top 100 of the NFL draft, especially at quarterback, so they were a star in college,
to dominate,
to come to be dominant, dominant in the UFL, and none of them have been.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So never mind. So long on the ever getting to see Trey Lance down there, because that ain't happening. He said, Birmingham and St. Louis. This was grimy. This was a crazy game. Battlehawks end up with the 1-point victory, scoring 16 points in the fourth quarter. Bowling shoe ugly at quarterback. But man, oh man, because these Battlehawks run the football. Jacob Sailors, the man, 118 yards on just 16 carries and a touch. Duggan, while he is being ugly through the air, very effective on the ground, 5 yards per carry on 11 carries, 2 touchdowns rushing. It's been interesting. Both DC and St. Louis have kind of completely reformatted the identity of their teams midstream throughout this season. It's been very interesting to see. The Battlehawks are now, from the star-studded offensive lineup, has now switched over to being this dominant run team. Great run blocking offensive line, a quarterback who can get it done running, and arguably the best running back in the league. Although our guy, Deion Jackson, is coming on right up on that claim sooner than later. But Jacob Sailors, man, what a bad dude. Crazy win for St. Louis. They lock in a home playoff game, apparently. Thank you, UFL. Finally, you just came right out and just went ahead and handed them one. You've been doing everything you can to try and get them one. So now finally you get your wish. With this victory, St. Louis locks in their trip to the playoffs, and as of today, regardless of the standings, regardless of the actual one seed, locked in a playoff game, home playoff game. Great for them. That's good. Great for them. St. Louis, Birmingham. What'd you think, man? Jamar Smith, shout out to him as well. Comes in from retirement and did balled out kind of 52%, but he had 262 and 3 touchdowns passing. If it wasn't for a CJ Marable fumble right at the end of the game, Stallions had this one, and then big mistake at the end. St. Louis gets a shot. They go down and take advantage of it, get the win.
Yeah. This was a good game. This was good. If I'm a Stallions fan, I'm not upset. You know, this is like their fourth quarterback or something like that. So I mean, they're figuring things out late in the year. You know, they got their playoff spot, so it's no big deal. But I'm sure they're waiting on guys to come back. Deion Kane, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 115 yards. You always love to see something like that. But yeah, Battlehawks won the game on the ground. You know, the passing yards just weren't there. It hasn't been there since Manny Wilkins' injury, honestly.
Yeah.
So they have just been running the ball, and I would say it's working. You know, they're 6-2 with a home playoff game. So there's that. Yeah, they're just gonna continue to run the ball for the rest of the year. And yeah, this was a good battle test though. This was a good game. You want games like this later in your season just to see where you're at. So it's a good team, and these are good teams, and we saw that the other day. So
It'll be interesting. It'll be and there's 2 weeks of games left, and we want to be respectful for that, and we'll give it our full attention. But if things stay the same, it'll be an interesting situation with the Battlehawks now being pretty one-dimensional.
Oh yeah,
and I'm sure DC feeling that they got something taken away from them, they will probably come in to that stadium pissed to the maximum of pistivity about that situation. So that'll be an interesting playoff matchup. Or maybe there's 2 weeks left. They could flip flop. Battlehawks still could take over the number 1 spot, and all will be right with the world at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Might be getting upset over nothing. So
that's what they hope. That they don't want it to be like that. They're because that'd be the only way they would save it if it if it does go like that.
If they flip flop, but that could happen on both sides, by the way. Birmingham could also take over the number 1 spot, but so we'll see. Next week's games, let's see if we're going to get on the way to that. St. Louis against San Antonio, 8:00, Fox, Friday night. I don't know how much there is to say here. Probably going to be a butt whooping, and probably going to be in front of a lot of people dressed up as blue chairs in the Alamo Dome. You going St. Louis?
Oh yeah. They need this one. You know, I don't want
because they still got to get right. They still got to get their offense.
They got
figured out.
Passing game isn't there, but this is the game to figure that out right here. You know?
Yes, it is.
I don't know when Manny Wilkins comes back. So if it is Duggan,
I know he's done. I'm pretty sure he tore his Achilles, so he ain't coming back.
He did. Yeah. So I mean, they got to figure it out. Because good luck if they think they're just gonna run the ball and complete 10 passes. Good luck. They're gonna need to add more. So they'll get past the Brahmas, because the Brahmas, I think they want the Battlehawks to win. I mean, that's just this is how their season's been. So Battlehawks, they shouldn't play around. I mean, if they want the 1 seed, it's not like it matters, but if they want the 1 seed just for like pride purposes, they need this win. But
so that's another aspect of this, and I want to make sure to mention it just in case anybody mentions it in the comment. There's really technically no reason for any of these 4 teams to play their guys the last 2 games. If they already know where the game's going to be hosted and they already know that they're in. But it's not really what this league is about exactly. This league is about getting reps on tape and getting development. So since that's the case, I fully expect to see both teams play their guys now. And I would expect Bryce Perkins for them to be very careful with that ankle injury, whatever it is. So those are 2 of the most important players in the league. I wouldn't be surprised to see them be careful. Bryce Perkins a little bit less, maybe, because he's still a lot younger in his football career than Tiamu is. So they might still put him out there for more reps, for more tape, for more development. It'll just be interesting to see how it plays out. A little situation that the league has created for themselves. Noon, ABC, Arlington at Memphis. Speaking of only for reps, that's what this game is, right? So I'll go Arlington. I think they're just, obviously these last second games and past, everybody's kind of playing just to get themselves more tape right now. So who knows how that plays out on the field as far as chemistry. But I think Arlington's just a lot more talented. So I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah, Renegades, they've been getting beat up on past couple of weeks. This one will make them feel good. They need. I mean, because they're always in the game.
Yeah,
at least they're not getting blown out. But I think this time they'll win. They'll win by like less than 10. I don't
the
think they
three
blow
big
them out or anything. But
the three big stars on the offense, Canella, Luis Perez, and Tyler Vaughns. I mean, just make it their show and keep getting them more tape and getting them more publicity. Get them on some. I think all three guys will probably be in NFL camps this summer. Up next on the docket, well, here we go. Michigan and Birmingham in a game that almost could not possibly be more useless, since they're going to play again in a few weeks, and we already know there's no seating on the line. So what happens? I think I don't know who to go with. I think I'll go Birmingham because I think maybe Etling will play for Michigan.
Me too. I was thinking the same thing. Like, because I mean,
Birmingham still wants to get in, keep getting the flow going with Jamar Smith. I think.
They're gonna exactly. So, yeah, I think the Stallions they're gonna want this one bad. It doesn't like, they're still making the playoffs and whatnot, but you just want to get in the groove of things going into the playoffs because this playoffs is right around the corner. I mean, this week 9, so there's 2 more regular season games left. So I mean, you want to get in the groove of things. You don't want to troll any games in a 10-game season. So, yeah, I got the Stallions as well. Panthers finally take a loss after a win streak. So, yeah, I got the Stallions.
DC at Houston, 4:00 box. Interesting, hard to predict. Like I said, because who knows how many reps everybody's going to be getting. Who knows the motivation level of both sides? I'll just go D. I guess you got to go DC. I think Houston wants to get some more positive momentum going, so I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think Houston's going to give a good effort. I just think DC's the better team, so I'll go DC.
Yeah, DC's been hot. I think DC likes to play around with these teams, so I think it'll be close, but they should get the job done. 7-2 is better than 6-2. You don't want to take losses late in the year, especially if you're playing a team you're better than, you have to take care of business. And defenders haven't taken care of business. Got to give it to them. So, they made the playoffs and just looking to improve. So I got the defenders going 7-2. In the next week. Roughnecks they got potential, like I said earlier. They do have a lot of potential. Like they're a team to watch next year. But I'm going with the defenders.
It was wild too of ESPN being such a grand partner to have Arlington driving pivotal 3rd down and ESPN kicks the game, or ABC kicks the game to ESPN for a pregame show, for an NBA playoff pregame show. It'd be one thing if they were about to tip the ball, but it was for the pregame show. It's 3rd down and 5. Arlington's driving. If they win, they survive and they get to stay in the playoff hunt. That was nuts. Goodness gracious. What is going on this weekend? UFL. Damn. Well,
maybe that explains the 12:00 game. Or how it was double games on Saturday, and that explains it.
The UFL is engaged in so much shenanigans since that we didn't even really go over the fact there was somehow, even though there's only 8 damn teams in the league, 2 games going on at the same time with regional coverage.
Yeah,
in a pivotal playoff week. Oh my good God. Not a banner week for running this league. Holy crap. Almost said that. I get one per show, Ace. Come on, give me a break. I'll be interested to see obviously our guys down there at the cow pasture, how things are going. Hey, I've informed him again, European League of Football. The Madrid Bulls, they got a big win this weekend over there, Madrid, Spain. That's horns forward and all that. So maybe they can take some comfort in that happening. It'd be interesting to see our guy FBI Tugboat, since his team there on the PAWD, the podcast, is directly affected by this situation with the playoff seeding and playoff sites. Wonder how he's going to feel about it. Wonder how he's going to talk about it. Wonder how he's going to feel rolling into this game this week at Birmingham. And of course, me and Tay on the DC Defender Show later on this week. That'll be an interesting one. A little catered towards the DC fans and how we all might feel about this situation and how it played out. I don't know. We'll see. I might maybe drink a few Dr. Peppers before that one, before I hop on here to give my takes on that one. Otherwise, though, real interesting week here on the United Football Media. It's coming down to the wire in the UFL, and we're going to be here to tell you all about it because this is United Football Media's Tell Me About It.